What's going on, guys? So this past weekend was the Newark Bushy Road Regional event for Spring Circuit 2017, and I was there and I saw some Go Paladin players playing Gurgwit somewhat incorrectly. Not that the decks were wrong, not that their playstyle was incorrect. It's just one thing that I saw them doing wasn't fully, like, they could have done better with the card. So I'm bringing this video to explain how one card in particular can be so much better than how it was being played at regionals, because I thought that this was common knowledge in the community, and it could actually help other superior calling decks as well, because this effect can be transcended to other decks. And the card we're going to be talking about today is, if I can get it, where are you? Gigatech Ringer. And we're also going to subsequently explain why this doesn't work the way that I would like it to. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so looking at this field, this is a mock field to what could be happening during a real game. We have 4 damage. This is the rear guard. This is the Vanguard circle. We currently have used up our Gurgwits, and we're about to flip up one Glorious Reigning Dragon face up for the skill of the Vanguard. So this is the setup for the field, and here's what we can do with the stand trigger. And I get that people that are watching this, some of you might know this, but this is not for you. This is for those that don't know, because I went to the regionals and I saw that there were you out there. So if some of you need to see this. So skill, let's just say we're in Unite, so we fulfill the Unite condition because we have to for this. Even if we didn't, let's say we didn't fulfill the Unite condition. Let's say this field already existed, and somehow attack with a rear guard to 9. So we just placed this. Let's go with that. We just placed this. We're not Unite yet. Okay? So attack Grid for 9. Attack Vanguard for 14. Cannon Blast to 1. Look at top 3. Call 1. We're now in Unite. These would trigger, but we're not going to resolve them yet, because that's not the point where I'm going to make here. So we're now in Unite, and the Unite conditions are met. We're going to attack with this. Attack with the Vanguard. We're going to put these 2 to the bottom of the deck. I'm going to call from, so we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in the face up. We're going to call up to 5 cards from top 7. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Makes sense? So here's what's going to happen. We just called over Gigatech Ringer, and we called over this. So here's what's going to happen. We called more than 3 cards first. The first thing that's going to happen is we have to resolve this. So we have to soul charge 1, and then we counter charge 1. That's mandatory, because we called more than 3 cards. Now, any of these effects can resolve in the order we choose, but no matter what, this card right here is going to die, and I'll explain later. So technically, these 2 hit the graveyard as well, but these were on the rear guard to see all these cards call from deck. Even though they will get retired due to the effect of oversizing on the rear guard circle, they can still resolve and be called back and be returned back to deck, shuffle, and you can draw 1 and give +5, and give +5 to a rear guard. So we're going to give +5 to the rear guard right here. This one's going to activate again, and we're going to draw 1. This is going to retire because we can't target this, because this doesn't have an effect. Because in the way that the rulings do work is that it really does get retired. And so we're going to use this, return this to deck. We're going to draw a card, give all effects here, activate the perfect guard, put this to the bottom of the deck. Actually, the better play would actually call this here and put this to the bottom of the deck like this. And then now we have 2 attacking columns. This is plus 5, 5, and let's say we put the last one over here, so this is 11. So this is going to be 21, 28, and this is going to be 11 attacking to the Vanguard. Here's why this works. So if we look at Gigatech Bellringer, it says auto, rearguard circle GB1. When your other unit is placed on the rearguard circle from deck, you may pay the cost. If you do, shuffle your deck, draw a card, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power at end of turn. The cost is put this on top of your deck. Okay. So here's why this works. It's because that when you call over a card, it's not the fact that they temporarily share a zone, and that's what was explained to me when I first got into the game, and that's not entirely correct of an explanation. So here's why this works, and this is the real answer. When you call over this, they do see each other hit the field. Okay, this does die. This actually does hit the graveyard, but here's the problem. Here's why it works. It's because we already met the condition of rearguard circle and the card being called from deck. We met that condition. Because the additional condition was met, it does not have to resolve in that initial state. Because it is still considered a unit in the drop zone, it can be returned to the deck as a unit. If let's just say you put it to the bottom of the deck with this skill, you can't use it again to go back to deck because it's not considered a unit. You couldn't do it in that order. You have to do it this way, and then this would have to target a different rearguard. Because same as let's just say we had a card that puts a card into soul, right? We couldn't then take this card, put it into the soul, and then activate it. The only way it works is that from their drop zone, and then it can go up to deck. And that's why this works. You can call over from deck, it does die, but it already saw the card and met the rearguard condition, and it can still go to deck and resolve its effects. And that's the first thing. Okay, so this is the second part. Let's just say this was our pre-existing field, and this is our first stride. I know we went from having 5 cards in the G-Zone face up to 1 card, but we're going to go backwards because we're going to show a different card and why a different card works the way it does. Because I had a comment on a previous video, and I was told that a thing doesn't work, and I'm going to explain better because I explained in the comment why what I did worked, and this video is going to be a video response to that comment. Vanguard of the Royal Paladin, I'm talking to you right here. Okay, so we're going to stride into the Gurgrid stride, the new one. Counterblast 1, I already counterblasted. And we're going to look at top 4, and let's just say this is the 4 cards. This really sucks. We're still going to call this crit trigger right here. Here's why this is okay. So we already established that this stand trigger can resolve, and we're going to give plus 5 power to this crit trigger. Okay, so we're going to then eventually draw a card. Okay, and let's just say somehow we draw this again. All right, because that happens, and I'm not going to rule it out. That's impossible because it actually can happen. Okay, now we activate this. All these get plus 2,000 power because there's only 1 card face from the G-Zone. Okay, so this got 4, and this got plus 5 from this, and it's plus 2. Okay, so this is now 11k attacker. Okay, so now we can attack with this by itself. Okay, now we're going to attack with this, the Gurgrid Stride. This is going to trigger, this is going to trigger. We're going to look at top 7, and we're going to call 1. We're going to call this, let's just say we call Berenius. Right, that's his name. Oh, sorry. Henrius. I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Henrinus? I don't know. Anyway. This is going to trigger, and it's the same reason as this. It met the rearguard condition, and it met the condition of Vanguard attacking. Just like this card would see this being called from deck, this saw this card be saw the Vanguard attacking. And right here, even though it's in the drop zone, it can still resolve the effect of going to the soul because it is still considered a unit, and it's still considered a card that can be moved. If it went to your hand, you couldn't do that. If it went to the deck, you couldn't do that. From the drop zone or the rearguard circle, it is still viable of a card to be used to go. It can still resolve. It doesn't have to be on the rearguard circle. As long as it's in a zone of state of being being a unit, it can still move to soul. So, in theory, we don't even have to resolve that yet. We can activate this first, because technically this is dead. So we acknowledge that this actually does die. because of oversizing, but it's still on standby in the drop zone. And we activate this, look at top 3, oop, my apologies, and let's just say we look at these 3 cards. That isn't that great, but we can set up for next turn. We're going to call this back here, and this saw these 2 cards get called from deck, because this was already here, okay? We're not going to give +5 to here, because that'd be dumb. We're going to give +5 to over here. This is going to go to the deck, we're going to draw a card, then this is going to go to soul, and we're going to draw another card. So that's why these 2 things work the way they do. And I've done the crit trigger thing in Brave and Royal Paladins, and this works for any deck that's getting superior called during the battle phase, with any Generation Break deck that has a crit trigger that says when your Vanguard attacks with a certain name, yada yada yada, draw a card, you know. And that's about it. And coming up is part 3 of why a thing not does work, but why a thing doesn't work. Okay, this is part 3 to why, instead of a thing does work, why it doesn't work the way I would like it to. So this is a similar field to what we had before, almost exactly. We have 4 cards in the G-Zone face up. I mean, we just used up 4 of the Gurgwits, and we're about to use up the last one. Sorry, we're about to flip up the first, or in this case, second, Glorious Reigning Dragon. Okay? So this is the setup field. Pretend we have no hand, whatever, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is we have a damage to use, and we have a field and a Vanguard that's going to be attacking soon. Okay, so same as before, we're going to be attacking, We can activate the Prill skill if we want to. You know what, let's activate it, why not? Combust 1, yada yada yada, look at top 3, call something. For purposes, we're just not going to use the effect, even though we normally would use the effect of this card. But let's just say, whatever, we didn't. Okay, we can attack with it because that's +3. Oh, another thing. Because the period of the effect says, has the period, right here, it says, put the rest of them on the bottom of the deck in any order, period. That ends the effect. And then it says, if you have a Vanguard with Gurgit in its card name, the unit called with this effect and this unit get 3,000. So right here, you don't have to call the card with the effect because of where the period is placed. It is not a comma. So that's a little bonus tip right here that I didn't realize I was going to put in. A little bonus tip. This card doesn't have to call a card to give the card +3. As long as your Vanguard is Gurgit, this has a +3. Okay? Good. Okay, so now we're back to what I was initially going to go for. Attack with this, activate skill. These go to the bottom. Call from top 7. Let's just say now we call 1, 2. Actually, that's not a good choice. Let's go with this. Now, 3 and 4. Okay. So here's why it doesn't work in this order for this card. Here's what I'm trying to say. Here's why we. Oh my God. Here's why we don't take the Maligant from underneath the Perfect Guard and put it to the bottom of the deck. It's because of the fact that this is no longer on the rearguard circle by the time we can actually resolve this. When it comes to Gigatech Bellringer, this was on the rearguard circle and triggered and died to the drop zone, but can still resolve. This does see this, and it does see it. This card can acknowledge this card's existence on the rearguard circle, but here's why it doesn't work. Is because this actually does die due to oversizing before this card does resolve. Reason why it works with this is because, again, like I said before, it doesn't have to resolve in the rearguard circle. So we can't call over a card with the Perfect Guard and then use that card to go back to deck. We would have to resolve this card, call another card, use that card, and then, so this would die, this card would die, and this would resolve, giving something plus power. Then we can activate Brenius. So wait, first we soul charge, whatever. And then counter charge 1. Now we use Brenius skill. Soul Blast 1. Sorry, Counter 1, Soul Blast 1. Look at top 3. Call this, whatever. Isn't that great? Doesn't matter what we call, because we're going to use it for this. Put the card we call to the bottom of the deck. And then now we're set for all the effects to resolve, because we already used the Gigatech Ringer. We already used the Perfect Guard. We used this to call another card to give feed for the Perfect Guard. And the Vanguard is still attacking. And we're going to be adding 1 card to our hand end of turn. And we already have another card drawing from the stand trigger effect. And that's part 3 with a bonus part 4 of why things do and don't work with this deck. And when it comes to the crit trigger, this transcends to all decks that can superior call from the deck or drop zone in Grand Blue. So you attack with your Night Rose. Your Night Rose, I don't even know the name of the card. Night Rose crit will trigger. You can call over it, and it will still resolve. It's the same way because, again, the wording of the card, I believe, if it's worded differently, then I'm guessing it won't work. I have to look into the card. But I'm assuming here that all of the crit triggers for all the Generation Break decks, all the cards are worded the same. And so if they all are worded the same, they all work the same way. So when you call over it, as long as your Vanguard is attacking, this will die. But then it will resolve and go to Soul, and you can still draw a card. So that's a video for explaining why Gold Paladins work and don't work the way that I would like to or I wouldn't like them to. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If it wasn't useful, I'm sorry. If it was useful, I'm happy. But whatever, this video had to be made because at a regional event, I saw people not fully utilizing the potential of Gold Paladins. And even then, again, this is helpful information for all decks that have a superior calling mechanic that had this crit trigger. So I hope this was even somewhat helpful. If not, whatever. See you next time, guys. Peace.